very well. They were my contemporaries, most of them. The only person I didn't know them was Jerry John Rawlings. I mean, later I got to know that he's my direct relative. But those in the coup that I knew who were key figures was a gentleman by name Major Henry Smith, a very bold soldier. We were in the same battalion, one battalion of infantry. If you get to my bungalow, the next bungalow was his. We were very close. So I told myself, if I had been around, definitely I would have been part of this move, you know. And June 4th was very confusing because for almost 2 days, no one knew who was running this country. It was frightening.
Right.
So we passed that phase. Then came 31st December Revolution, as they call it. We passed that phase too. Then when the PNDC government came into power, some of us decided that enough is enough. Military government should go away. That is not why they were commissioned. So a group of us, I'll try and remember the names. Dr. Reku Brobe, you might have heard of him before. Very, 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 very well organized. Good organizer. Charles Brobe, I haven't seen for a while. I have to visit him one of these days. Kwesi Pratt, you know.
Yes.
Kweku Bakun, the one there now. Kweku Bakun. Akoto Ampao, may he rest in peace. Kweku Poku. Kakraba Cromwell, he was a young boy who has just left University of Ghana. He has not even worked before, but he joined us. And late Victor Newman, myself, and Nana Akufo-Addo. That was a group. If we had been slaughtered, the number I mentioned, none of us would have been alive today.
Right.
The sad thing is that, and by then, mind you, we didn't have televisions. We had television, but we didn't have these cell phones these days that you have.
And the social media we have
Exactly.
today.
So you ask me, how did we get ourselves organized, especially in relation to the public? We did a simple thing. We set up a network in Kumasi, done by Charles Brobe. And then those who helped us strongly were ordinary people, taxi drivers. We made numerous leaflets, and we gave it to them. Then they were distributing it. And believe me, when we met at the Nkrumah Circle, not what you see now, by then it was really a circle. When we met there, by the time I got there, when I saw the crowd, I was frightened myself.
Is this the Kumepreko?
Kumepreko I'm talking about.
Right.
That's the only Kumepreko. So Charles came to me. Charles said, Nyaho, a group has already left. Well, we can't just accommodate those coming here. The population is huge. So one of you have to go forward to lead them. So I remember myself, Kwesi Pratt, Akoto Ampao, we left in a taxi, drove with, and we got the head of the team around Republic House, if you know Republic House in Accra. So quickly, I go to the front. And my colleague also was saying to the others. I remember 2 young chaps from the north. I have the pictures, I can show to you. And I was in the middle. And it was frightening. Now, when we got to TUC, let me make one point very clear here. Before we move, we sought permission. The Constitution allows us to protest.
Right.
And we saw the late, who died recently, late Inspector General of Police, Kofi, gentleman's gentleman. We met him, just like I'm sitting now. And he was so civil, it shocked us. So you have a right. Then he made a call to the police officer in charge of the Central Command. And we met him, I've forgotten the name. He was equally civil. And they promised us that they are going to shepherd us as we go along. But when we got to Old Kingsway, I don't know if you know Accra geography, but Kingsway, we were confronted by an armored policeman. If you have not been, you have not seen a battle before, you get scared. And then they stopped us. I was at the head of the march. And then without any questioning, they started giving warning shots. So the crowd naturally dispersed. Then after a while, I noticed that they had a commander who was in one of these MOACs. MOACs is the vehicles that the police and the soldiers have been using. It wasn't a turret. So I marched towards him. And I told him, I said, gentlemen, whoever dies here, if you think you'll be scot-free, you are telling lies. One day you'll be tried. The moment I said that, he called another police officer, and the police officer who were confronting us now came and shepherded us through our course to our final location. That was where now you have Greater Accra Metropolitan Assembly. It used to be a park. But one thing took place, which I would like to bring to the public domain. When we got to Farisco, by then the PNDC had a unit who were very politically charged, So naturally they were not happy with what is happening. They could not face us directly. I think one of them, some of them had knives. In fact, I was informed about that the previous night. I said, that's no problem. I remember I was in Akutolante, sitting down there with a group of friends who were having beer. Then a young man came to me and said, look, there was a lane. They said, look, these people have been taken to the lane there. They have distributed knives to them. And that was the following day we were going to have this thing. And that we have to be careful. I said, no problem with that. If they have knives, we shall come. I remember on the same spot at that place too, I spoke with President Kufuor. I called him. I'm sure you should remember this very well. I said, Kofi, there's a big demonstration tomorrow. He said, oh, you'll be going to Kumasi. I said, if you did, you lose a big political opportunity. And he stayed. So when we got to Farisco, somebody opened fire. Who was that? Today we don't know. But it might be one of these PNDC boys. And a young man, whose name has escaped me, but I'm sure I'll get, the young boy, about the age of 15, was shot dead. Their house was just a few steps from the area. I remember 8 people died. We buried about 2 in Nungwa, 2 or 3 in Nungwa. We buried 2 at Awudome. One was taken somewhere to the north. And that young man, I had no idea where he was buried. I remember the next day we went to visit those who were wounded at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. Then, surprisingly, we held a huge memorial service for them at the church. I think we started with an open church, and we made it annually.
Right.
We visited various churches in Accra here. And we promised the family, listen to me carefully, we promised the family that should there be a change in future, our principal objective will be to look for those who killed these young people. We have been in power since the time of J. Kufuor. Nothing happened. 8 solid years. In fact, that ceremony we used to have for these lost souls ceased. The promises we gave them ceased. As I talk to you today, it has never been fulfilled. We promised we'll look for them and then also promise the parents what we could do.
Do you know why that promise was never fulfilled?
I'm coming. So Kufuor era, nothing happened. Well, Kufuor was not even part of the group originally. If we were to be arrested at that time, he wouldn't have been among the real leaders, if I would say so. Then, the years passed. The PNDC itself came to government. Rawlings, after Rawlings came Atta Mills. After Atta Mills came John Mahama. And one thing that shocked me was that John Mahama called me and wanted to find out if I could let him know where the parents of these slain people, particularly the 15-year-old boy.
I see.
So I said, what exactly is wrong with John? Years ago. Anyway, he went to the place. It's in Adabraka, I can take you there.
Right.
I believe in physical evidence. I will get the name soon. The name will come. He comes from quite a well-known family. We went there. The poor old man and the wife met us. It was an unannounced visit. It was so pathetic. They were shocked. Right. The whole thing took place in such a way nobody knew about it.
John Dramani Mahama, when he became president,
took
it upon himself to fulfill the promise that
exactly
you and another Dr. Akufo-Addo had made.
To my surprise, whoever gave him the idea, I have no idea. But when he asked me, I was surprised. And he had a chat with them and spoke with the family. And then left them some few gifts, and we left. But I believe strongly, I think the time has come to reward one way or the other. I don't know whether the parents of this young man are still living, but that can easily be ascertained. If they are living, they have to be given something before they die. Because this is a blood that has been shed in defense of democracy in this country. Akufo-Addo came, 4 years, nothing. He was part of the group. I spoke about it.
Did you ever talk to now President Akufo-Addo about the promise you had made over 20 years ago when he came into office?
No, I didn't talk about him directly, but I made mention of it in one of my interviews, like I'm doing now, on television, and I know you're here. 4 years past, nothing. We are ending another 4 years, making 8 years. Nothing has been done. And we have the leaders still around. Those who have passed on, Victor Newman and Akuto-Ampao, the rest of us, we are still alive. Here. I am not in government. I've never been in government, and I won't be in government. But those of the Akufo-Addo in particular, he was our spokesperson. He wasn't the leader of the group. Let me state that clearly. Akufo-Addo was not the leader of Kumepreko. We chose him as our spokesperson.
What happened to the relationship between you and President Akufo-Addo?
No, that's an interesting question. What happened? We were very close friends. We knew ourselves from infancy. We knew each other very well. Strange enough, we were all living on the same street, Castle Road, years back. Myself, himself. But then Accra was not what it is today. Accra was a nice, clean city. And if you watch carefully the geography of Accra, the Castle Road runs all the way from Usu Castle, passes through the Rich Hospital, passes down through the psychiatric hospital, goes down where you now have the cathedral, which used to be a park, and goes down all the way to the Odo River. That's the Castle Road. We were all young men, even adolescents. I can be more. Now, people like the Baksmati, what do you call, brothers, Face, Oma, and others, we were all friends. Hero Hariram, unfortunately, he has died. The Reynolds, that's Nijosa Reynolds and Neokan Reynolds, who was my contemporary. We were all together. Many I can mention them, the Techimensons, and a lot of us. So we knew ourselves. The prayer, brother and the sisters.
Would you say that your relationship with the president back then, as young people, you were close?
We were close.
Right.
Oh, we moved together.
Okay.
We moved together. In those days, Accra was not as huge as I'm saying. And the center of activities really was at the Braka area.
So then what changed?
Now, I'm coming.
Okay.
So, of course, we all went through education, got into politics. We went abroad. We came almost around the same year because of the age group. Now, I was in the military. He was practicing law. Then, the formation of political parties, when the idea came in, after Achampon had been removed by his own generals, by then I was in detention with other colleagues, other military officers. So when we were released, before we were released, General Akufo's leadership has already agreed that there should be a political organization.
Right.
So when we came out of jail, those of us who had, some sort of sympathy for certain democratic, groupings, decided we should even be quiet and watch. Because we have just been released from prison, we really don't know who is who. Because the leadership was then there, very solid. Now, before Achampon came, the party in power was the Progress Party, led by Professor Buzia. You follow me? That Achampon came, that's another tall story, how Achampon got in. Another time, maybe I'll have the opportunity to discuss with people that can also tell you that ethnicity can destroy this country. Otherwise, Achampon wouldn't have been the commander. There were better officers there. Now, when we were released, formation of political parties, fortunately or unfortunately, the front of the Progress Party got divided. Once again, on ethnic lines. The Ashantis against the Achims.
Okay.
So, the Achims were behind a party known then as United National Convention, which we used to call it UNC. And then there another party known as Popular Front Party was where the Ashantis were, majority of them. The Popular Front Party was led by Victor Owusu, another good politician. And the United National Convention was led by William Oforiatta, we all call him Pa Willie. Then the CPP were very crafty, because their party, CPP, was then proscribed, so they couldn't hold elections. So they formed a party, and the party was led by a popular Ghanaian politician known as Imoru Igala. But Igala was disqualified from holding a political position.
Right.
So they had to look for somebody else. And that's how Liman came in. So Liman really was not a politician. Liman was a diplomat. I think you follow me.
I do.
So all they needed was to get a leader who would be acceptable to the people. So Igala brought in Liman. Unfortunately, not quite long after that, Igala died. So we went in for the elections. And because we divided our front, the CPP group had the opportunity and they won the elections, backed by the United National Convention. I think you follow me. So it's a sort of coalition, but a coalition that was quite strong. So they were able to run the country under Liman.
Until the coup.
And that was when Rawlings handed over power. He handed over the power from the AFRC, Armed Forces Revolutionary Council, to Liman. And Liman was in power. And as I said, he wasn't a politician. There were a lot happening, protests left and right. And you can see that there was unrest in the country. And then, eventually, after several warnings by the security agencies that there could be a coup d'etat, he always ignored it. You follow me? Eventually, Rawlings came back. That was the second coming of Jerry John Rawlings.
Right.
Now, you asked me a question about why.
What happened to the relationship between you and...
It's very simple. I believe strongly on principles, in principles. We had a congress of our party, New Patriotic Party. The congress took place in Tamale for the first time. Now, if you knew or you know the history about the word NPP, the word NPP had already been used by political leaders for a political party in the North before independence or during independence. It was then known as Northern People's Party, led by S.D. Dombo, a very formidable politician, a man with integrity. And somewhere along the line, we adopted the name when we were asked to form a new party. That was during the era of the Fourth Republic. I was very instrumental in getting Akufo-Addo elected as a leader of our party. The history is a tall history. When I was an ambassador, what happened? I mean, it's a tall history. I'm not about to talk about that here, otherwise we shall never leave this room. But eventually he became leader of the party. But when he became leader of the party, I observed one or two things that got me a bit disturbed. But I said, oh, I have known Akufo-Addo for years. When we meet, I can tell him something. Some which I did. But what really broke the camel's back, as far as I'm concerned, was when we had a congress in Tamale, first ever. And amongst those who were competing was a gentleman by the name Paul Afoko. I remember vividly that Akufo-Addo had a group that were continuously harassing this young man from becoming chairman of the party, national chairman. But I didn't understand. I said, what has this man really done? I knew his father was a key figure in our party years back. So it's not the new face, as far as the name is concerned. So I kept quiet, I was watching. Then another gentleman by name Kwabena Ajepong, you might know him.
Yes.
He also wanted to contest as the General Secretary. Just when he was on his way to the north in a vehicle, listen to me carefully, he nearly died somewhere around the Accra-Kumasi Road. Fatal accident. He was brought to 37 military hospital. He's alive, you can ask him. I visited him twice. Because I knew he had the potential as well. Then the third person, his name was Sammy Crab, a young chap. He's around. These three figures, to me, were key figures who can run the party. Sammy, a brilliant young man. I remember carefully when he came in newly, he wanted to be regional chairman of the party, of Greater Accra. This is from Accra area here. And my good friend and late Jake Obeche-Belante was not comfortable with it. So Sammy came and told me. And I remember I had a discussion with the then Minister of National Security, Mr. Francis Poku, an excellent gentleman. And he settled that matter. The boy went to the competition and won. But after the difficulties this boy had, the group set up by Akufo-Addo had with Paul Afoko, I never understood it until later.
And you think the president was behind those things? I mean, what exactly did they do to frustrate them?
But then he wasn't a president. Don't make that me. He was
Yes.
just a leader, a presidential candidate.
Yes.
Then, like a joke, all sort of things were written, even writing letters outside to find out about the background of the boy and whatnot. Nothing could hold the boy from taking part. We went into the elections, the boy won. Going.
But
Then,
I mean, subsequently, the accusations brought against them were dismissed. And so we saw the likes of Keminni Amanor go back into the fold of...
No, Keminni Amanor, even that. In fact, you have brought a very interesting point. And young men who are learning politics will learn a lot from that. Keminni Amanor's behavior later didn't shock me, but might probably shock others. They were a group, Afoko chairman, Keminni National Secretary, and Sammy Crab as a second national vice president. These are three people who have been taken off.
Yes.
So you have to look for another new set of people. This is how Freddie Blake got into our party. He has never been a democratic figure. And I wasn't surprised that under his leadership, our party got destroyed. Freddie Blake, I'm saying you can challenge me anyway. Because if I talk about it, it will be in volumes. I don't have time for that. Now, so when I attack Akufo-Addo, and we are in politics. I'm a physician by profession, but I have interest in politics as well. So I read about a lot about politics. And I knew that having suspended Paul Afoko and his group, they'll come on me, which they did. And then they wrote a letter that not the national executive. I learned the case was taken there. They couldn't take a decision. So one of the chaps, who was then a regional minister, said he can write the letter on behalf of the region. Well, my party card, which I have, which I can show to you. At that time, I was staying at Cantonment, so I was under La area. So they wrote a letter to me that I have been suspended indefinitely. I didn't mind that. Nobody can sack me from that party. If they are not careful, I will organize for them to be sacked from the party.
Has that suspension been lifted now?
No.
Right.
No, it has not been lifted. Now, you asked a question about Kwabena Japan.
Yes.
Kwabena Japan shocked most people by trying to work his way back into the hands of Akufo-Addo. And I cautioned him. The documents, I even spoke with him. Kwabena, it is a wrong move. What came into his mind before he did that, I don't understand. But he thought he would be accepted by them. He helped them to campaign for Akufo-Addo's second round. Then after the elections, they dropped him like a hot cake.
And he went back again because in 2024 he was in the campaign.
That's exactly what I'm saying, that the first round he was not really with them. But after the second round of Akufo-Addo, he started with
Which is the 2020 election.
Exactly. And maybe he was expecting some sort of, I doubt, but I don't think Kwabena has a problem, financial problem or anything. I don't know what.
I mean, he's told me because I interviewed him earlier last year. He's told me that it's because of his love for the party.
Oh no, Kwabena cannot love MPP more than me. I was in the party. It's not my age group. What we went through before the party was formed, he had no idea. Yes, there were younger people who were following this. His love for the party, more than the founders like J.B. Darocha, than Ajeni Boatin, than Odroy Sais, than Peter Lajete. What's he talking about? There were giants in the party. We didn't get close to those people. When it came to positioning, there were giants in the party, giants with integrity. J.H. Mensah. I mean, these are figures. When you see them, you have confidence in them. And that is why, at that time, the whole intellectual group, all the investors, were backing the NPP. Now they have all given their support to the NDC. And it is a fact.
I see.
Yes. Because the NPP now lacks leadership. It lacks leadership. And there's one thing I would like to caution them. I'm still a member. I've got my card.
Well, but you've been suspended indefinitely.
Oh, you can't sack a founding member of a party. They sacked me for what reason? For speaking my mind. Then what follows? The basic principle of the party's own philosophy is being undermined. I didn't attack anybody. Do you follow me? Yeah, I spoke my mind. Now, the state in which we are now, you asked me a question or something earlier. Well, I want to reply immediately before it gets out of my head. Party reorganization. The state in which we are now, and how the party looks like now. When the party had, not quite long ago, a Congress and elected in Tim as chairman, a team comes to me in this house. I know all of them, with the exception of some of the young ones. Then you have the general secretary, whose name is
Justin Kodia.
Justin Kodia. I have never met him before. I knew the father. If that was the father, he used to contest always for the leadership of the party. He came from Kumasi Island. He was also a lawyer. The rest, I don't know any of them. If they want MPP to come back in its traditional form, as it was formed by B.J. Darocha and others, then the first thing they have to do is to call for an emergency meeting or emergency congress. Completely sweep out the present leadership. Get an IMC in position to organize the party for the party to come. Therefore, if they did make the mistake of using this old executive, we shall end up having UNC and what a PFP. Mark my words.
But they have formed a committee to investigate the loss.
I heard about that and I laughed.
Why so?
Oh, I know Michael Kwe very well. You see, the Gans have a saying. Saka, you know what is Saka? You won't know where. Saka used to be between Adabraka and Tudu, where they have horses, dead horses, which cannot contest at the race course anymore. They put them there. They just pull weights. of goods. A guy will tell you, Saka Upongo ye race. That's a Saka horse can never win a race.
Is that your reference to Professor Mike Okwe?
You see, I speak my mind. I know Mike very well. He knows I can say what I'm saying. But he can never stop me. Mike has not got the energy and that, how shall I put it, even the conviction to tell somebody in the face that you are wrong, you are wrong, you are wrong. We've done it before. When we lost the elections some time ago, a committee was headed by Yao Safo Manfo.
Right.
Where the reports published, nothing came out. When the NDC, led by Kwesi, whom I know very well, had a similar report done, it was published.
We saw the Kwesi reports.
Yes. Now, why they chose Okwe will also tell you that they want somebody who can easily be influenced and maneuvered. You follow me? We have people there.
But to what benefit?
Listen to me. We have people there who can lead the party. Adainemo is around. You follow me? I'm not saying he should be elected as the leader of the party. He could be a leader among the new set of group that will be put in place to organize or reorganize the party. We have Aiko too. We even have Crab there. I would have gone in for any of these people, but not Michael Okwe. Michael Okwe cannot handle these people. But he's going to deal with people who will definitely like to maneuver because all of them came into office because of money.
Because of money?
I'm telling you. And they got into their various positions by buying votes with physical cash. We saw it in this country. It was on television. Right down from the chairman to the least person. So they bought their positions to be at where they are. So they are not the genuine wishes of the people. When I made mention after the election, speaking of the flag bearer, I told you, journalists, that Bawumia is not the choice of the people. People thought I was joking. It has shown. How can Bawumia, with all the money behind him, and Akufo-Addo's weight, performed so abysmally in the last elections that we had? He lost in his own constituency. He lost in all the barracks, the armed forces barracks.
Right.
He lost in the Muslim community. He lost also in the Christian community. So that tells you clearly. And under him, we suffered the greatest defeat we've ever experienced in the Ashanti region.
So in 3 months' time, we shouldn't expect this Professor Michael Okwe-led committee to come up with anything substantial or anything beneficial for the NPP.
All I will say is that wait and see. You see, I'm right. They can never form a party that will be NPP that we knew around the present leadership. It's impossible. They either form a new party or the party will be divided into two. We are once going to have the Achem section against the Ashanti section.
Should the party consider also, I mean, you talked about calling an emergency Congress to clear out the current leadership?
It can be done. The Constitution allows that.
Should the party also consider bringing in some of the names that you have mentioned, for instance?
People like Ayuko
and
people
yourself.
like Nemo. Oh, I am, you see, I'll tell you a story. There was an Indian politician who was, he was a schemer, an expert in politics. He belonged to a political party in India in those days, years back. He was asked a question, why didn't he want to come to the forefront and lead the party? At times in politics, somebody should be behind and direct affairs. I prefer that work and be at the forefront. So what do I need?
Who are the kinds of people you expect the party to reach out to now?
No,
And bring them back.
The party should reach out first and foremost. They should come out with an apology to all those that have been dismissed from the party. And then apologize also to the general supporters of our party. That's the first thing they should do. Accept defeat and then apologize. Because our supporters really have been harmed. I know them. They have been harmed. Some of them, they do come to me here. You follow me? Only they are afraid to talk. Some top leaders who were even in Akufo-Addo's government. You follow me? Now, if they fail to clean the stables and they think they can work with this present leadership, like the meeting they have just called and made Michael Okoye the leader, I can assure you 100% it will never work. Mark my words.
It won't work. Right. When we come back, I want us to look at the... I know you said the president isn't leaving behind any legacy, but he's just delivered his final State of the Nation address. Let's assess some of the things that he says he's achieved when we come back. Don't go away. My guest is diplomat and founding member of the NPP, Dr. Nyaho-Tamakloe. Doc, again, thank you so much for talking to us. But I want to take you back a few steps just before we come back to the issue of the president, right? The young people, particularly the 15-year-olds you mentioned who died during the Kumepreko, the promises that you had made to, your supporters at the time. Kufuor had 2001 to 2008. During that period, 2001-2005, you were ambassador to Serbia and Montenegro. Akufo-Addo himself was Attorney General. Would that be correct?
He was an Attorney General.
And he was Foreign Affairs Minister too.
Initially, yes. And then moved to Foreign Affairs. Indeed. And he visited me at my area of jurisdiction.
So then, you, Nana Danko Akufo-Addo, even President Kufuor at the time, you were in office, you had power. Why is it that the three of you didn't do something then, within that period?
It's a good question. No. When you put a person in power in this country, at times his behavior changes completely. Now, I wasn't, for the first 4 years, listen to me carefully, of Kufuor's reign, I was not nowhere at all sent. For the simple reason that when we're going to have a Congress in Sunyani to elect a party leader, I supported Akufo-Addo. Listen to me carefully, against Kufuor. And Kufuor had been my close pal.
Right.
It was in my house at cantonments that 6 of us met and said Kufuor was the right person. After Edubo and the defeat by Jerry John Rawlings, the 6 of us, an elderly man by the name Stephen Kreku, who was then the Western Regional Chairman of MPP. He has passed on no long ago. He used to be a deputy minister in Professor Buzua's government. Gentleman's gentleman. The next, KG Osebos, well-respected man with integrity. Third, Dr. Johnny Selby. These were all my seniors. Johnny Selby, a well-respected gentleman. Fourth, Kandapaha, who is now the Minister of National Security. Yes. Fifth, Osei Ajayi, who took over from Akufo-Addo as the Minister of Foreign Affairs when Akufo-Addo had to step down in order to contest for the leadership of the party. And myself, Nyaho-Tamakloe. We met in my house when we decided that Kufuor should be the next. And he did. You follow me? The reason why I left Kufuor myself and a small group, I can give you the number again, was that we were initially supporting Kwame Pianim. I knew what Kwame Pianim can do. I served with him in Nsawan prisons. When I got to Nsawan prison, Kwame Pianim had served about 10 years.
Don't say.
You see, when you people, that's why I always blame historians in this country. These are contemporary politics, which should be written for the young ones to know. Kwame Pianin didn't commit a crime. What the Constitution said was what he was doing. There was a constitutionally elected government in power, and Jerry John Rawlings came in and removed them. So anyone who unseats that government or that junta, nothing should be done to him. Kwame was nearly killed. He served 10 years. By the time I left him in Saon, he has already served 10 years. When I got in there, I served 10 years. You follow me? And I know what Kwame can do. So when finally Kwame was released, in fact, from Saon, they moved him to, what do you call it? Sopon. Was it Sopon? No, not Sopon. But it's on the line there.
Right.
One of the prisons there. That was where he ended. And finally, he was released. You see? So we have people in the party with integrity, people who will not go in for money. They are there. But I don't know what happened. Under the administration of Nana-Addo, which shocked me more than anything, but I knew Nana-Addo to be someone who was straightforward when we were young. What happened that he has changed completely to the extent that when his minister have even been found to be culprit of a certain thing, he will come out to defend the minister? I don't understand it.
That's different from Nana-Addo, you know.
Totally different.
But you had also said earlier that when people are in power, they change.
Oh, absolutely, and that is what. In his case, myself and one of the young people I mentioned when we were kids, when he was made leader of the party, the person questioned. He said, "Nyaho, do you think Nana-Addo can handle this party?" At that time, I said, "Well, we are all growing, and with age, you change." That is what I thought. And surprisingly, what he's doing now, he never showed that when we were kids. His major problem, I would say, he always spoke about his height. That he did.
He was insecure about his height.
Absolutely. That's why I say Akufo-Addo is not an arrogant person. No.
Right.
You follow me? And when he did that, and I got convinced that he's been disturbed by his height and having what we call Napoleonic syndrome, that is what I would tell him in medicine, was when he wanted to show his face for the first time as a leader of the party. I was with him. We had a meeting at the Presbyterian Church Hall.
Okay.
I was on a podium with him and his uncle, John Soforiata, the father of the what do you call it, former finance minister. I sat next to Jones. Then in his address, he made mention of the tree word, motia, in his speech. So I didn't understand the word. So I asked Jones what the meaning was. Jones said motia means a dwarf. Then I kept quiet. And apparently what he wanted to tell the public at that time was that people see him as a smallish man, but when he is in control, you see him like a giant.
Oh.
So I have never, and I will never say Akufo-Addo is arrogant. Okay. He has what we call Napoleonic syndrome.
I see.
That is the problem he should solve. We even saw it on television yesterday. He showed it on television yesterday. Have you read about Napoleon Bonaparte before? He was once a French emperor. Shortish man, and you have to see how it is played.
I see. And you think the president is suffering from that as well?
Oh, it's Napoleonic syndrome.
What do you make of people who question the president's professional and education credentials?
Professional and education. Look, he left us very early. Interestingly, from primary school, we were not together on primary school. He was in a government school. We call it government primary school. It was right opposite Sadi School, this same Sadi School. The school is still there to today. And I was in the Accra Presbyterian primary school. That's when we started. I am older than him by a year and a half or 2 years. Then from there he graduated to Kembu. Kembu, you might know. It's in Accra now also.
Right.
That's the middle school. And I graduated to Osu Presbyterian Middle Boys School, known as Salem. Then we separated at that stage. So Akufo-Addo left early for Britain. The reasons I will keep to myself. He left early.
Oh, why so?
No,
What happened?
I have
Why
a lot
did he
of
leave?
reasons. I'll say I have a lot of reasons. It might come out one day. Now, he left early, so he had his secondary education in Europe. And also, whether he was in university there or not, that I can't tell. And eventually, when we started coming back in droves, our age group, the same age group, people started coming. We left some early 60s, mid 60s. After secondary school, you go out either through government scholarship or through your parents, you go out. Now, when he came back, he was sworn in as a lawyer in the chambers or in the office of the Chief Justice.
Okay.
You follow me? That's all that I can know about his background. And since he has been sworn in as a lawyer, to me he's a lawyer.
Indeed.
Those who can challenge what his educational background is concerning the law, they are there. They have a body there to see to that.
I see.
So we went through that phase. Then the political turmoil started coming. And we had been meeting, and finally we got together. And some of us ended up in prisons and whatnot, and finally we got together.
Again, after a long time in Britain.
After this long period.
Was he running away from something when he left Ghana for Britain?
Oh, most people ran away when the place was hot.
Okay.
Michael Kwe is one. They ran, because by then the military regime was a rough regime.
What was Akufo-Addo running away from?
Of course. If you criticize the government, you end up being arrested. If you are not careful, you can be killed.
You think that's why he left for Britain
No,
after Kimbu Secondary?
No. Kimbu were kids.
Yes. So I'm talking about that time.
We came back
Right.
home finally.
No. I'm taking you back to Kimbu days when he left for Britain.
No, the Kimbu days.
Right? What was he running away from
No, the
when he
Kimbu
left
days,
for?
I say, these are petty things. There is no point discussing them on television. It wasn't anything bad. That
Right.
I must state clearly. You follow? It wasn't anything bad.
I appreciate that clarity.
Yeah, but I think the parents felt it was necessary to send him abroad.
At that time.
So
At that time.
he didn't attend secondary school here, and also university here. Because if you go even into Wikipedia, you can see that they have not stated clearly which university he was. You follow me? But he did law, and law in those days can be done in different forms.
Different ways.
You
Sure.
follow me?
Even now.
As I said, when he came back, then we started, regrouping again, and then we got to where
When he came back to Ghana, what was his mindset?
No, but when he came back, I was in the military. Well, I joined the military right from medical school. I joined the military in England, and I remember very well. By then, the officer in charge of the military, the defense attache's office, we call it defense attache, attached to the High Commission, was he was then a Lieutenant Colonel Anokwenu. May he rest in peace. I heard he has just passed on, who was my senior. And his secretary was then a major called Major Francis Ajemfra. I learned he has also passed on a couple of years ago. And then there were 4 British officers, plus them making 6. They interviewed us. We were about 25 doctors, and 2 of us were picked. Myself and 1 officer by name Kobna, John Kobna. I've not seen him for years now. You follow me? So this is Then my coming to the military, what happened when I was a soldier, coup d'etats and what, that's another volume that we can't talk about it here. Maybe another time we can discuss that. And then, of course, after that, the sanity started creeping in gradually. Rawlings allowed, what do you call it, party politics to be brought in, and that brought us to the Fourth Republic, and we are where we are today.
Right.
But one thing I will say is that these boys that we promised, you made mention of it, especially the family, boys who died, we can trace them. The state need to honor them.
Do something about
it. They have to do something about it.
Indeed. So when...
And I can easily tell John Mahama in the face that he should do that if he wants peace to run this country. Because the blood of an individual has got tremendous control over an individual.
Right. So as friends, you had separated for a long time. You had gone into the military. President Akufo-Addo, then a young man himself, had also gone to Britain to study.
No,
and lived there.
I said we came back around the same time.
So you reunited in Ghana?
Oh.
In this country, right?
In this country.
Right.
I was at 1 battalion. Of course, in life you keep on making new friends. I was in 1 battalion of infantry. But the friends I mentioned, he knows them as well.
Right. So I'm trying to understand, when he came back to this country, what was his dream of coming back to this country? Did he have any at all?
No, when I met him, as I said, he was a practicing lawyer.
Okay.
You follow me? He did a major case with my cousin, Chachu Chikata. And Chachu is a brilliant lawyer. So Chachu, the soliciting work was done by Chachu.
But was politics on Akufo-Addo's mind when he came?
Well, by then, we had a civilian government. Listen carefully. See, these are the things. We had Liman as a president. We had Akpalu as a chief justice. These are two strong people. And the two of them had a conflict. It went to court. In fact, the person who sent the case to court was my good friend, Kufuor. He had passed on, may he rest in peace. And it became an interesting thing that had a lot of political connotations. Do you understand me? And the case was decided in favor of the Chief Justice. And Liman accepted the court's ruling. Akufo-Addo acted as an advocate, talk about it, and Chachu was the brain behind the whole thing. I mean, ask anybody my age group or even beyond, they'll tell you. The records are there in their law books. I'm not a lawyer. You follow me? So this you see, no one, I've said time and again, no one should think he can use ethnicity, religion, or any sort of sectional group to destroy this country. Right. Whoever attempts that will destroy himself first. And that is what has happened to Akufo-Addo. I'm telling you. When we were kids, it wasn't like that. Akufo-Addo can speak fluently. Oh, I'm telling you. When I met him, many a time we spoke in Ghana. I haven't seen him for years now. But when we met, we speak in Ghana. He used to come to me here. I visited him also. You follow me? So something basically went wrong, which up to now I don't understand.
You can't figure out what went wrong.
I can't figure out. But I suspect strongly those around him.
Those around him.
He couldn't control them.
Like who?
You know those around him. You know those around him. You are a journalist. You know those around him. There are people who, if they had been around Akufo-Addo, his path would have been different. I can tell you plainly, Charles Broby will not tolerate what you do. Kwesi Pratt will tell me in the plain language that what you are going wrong. And myself, I will tell him. But he decided to pick people who will just sing his praises. You know what I mean? And look at Parliament House yesterday. As if there was no government. NPP government. I was shocked. They were all silent. And the defeat they had, I have been saying that it is the people's revolution.
When you say
the NDC was just a conveyor belt
For the People's
I
Revolution.
am telling you, what happened was the People's Revolution. And I'm happy it happened under the rule of Akufo-Addo, for him to see the power of the people, which he knows the people have the power.
Because he's experienced it before.
Absolutely. We shook the whole of this country. Not here alone. Kumasi's one was even more frightening. When we went to Kumasi, we called it Semi-Preko.
Okay.
And all these words was brought up by Charles Broadbent. Good old Charles.
I mean, so when you say the people, if the people around President Akufo-Addo were different, his outcome would have been better. I want us to understand the people around him now. Are you referring to his appointees, or you're referring to those who have been christened as the Achim Mafia?
No, both. You see, the point. You see, if people like Darocha had been alive, people like Alajete had been alive. Odresa is alive, but he's aged. You follow me? People like J.H. Mensah, unfortunately, he's gone. These are people who were selfless. They didn't get into politics because of money. They got into politics because of what the people want to do for the people. If they had been alive, Akufo-Addo, there's no way he could have led the party the way he's leading the party now, or he led the party. So because, mind you, take a man like Peter Alajete. You go and ask the present speaker. He was in this thing. Peter was very objective and straight to the point. He knew the law too. Of DJ Darocha. These were selfless people. Peter served as speaker under J. Kufuor. First term. Second term, for what reason, I don't know. Kufuor changed him. And that started our problems.
People say that Nana Dankwa Akufo-Addo just wanted to do what his father couldn't. He just wants to be president, and really he didn't have the country at heart. You know him better than most of us. Would you say so?
No, he had the country at heart. I will not say he didn't have the country at heart. No. I mean, to be a president of a country, you know, his father served as a ceremonial president. That's a different thing. He had executive powers.
Indeed.
And he knows what executive powers means. So he had the country at heart. But he failed to use the powers he had to lead the party and the nation properly. Otherwise, there's no way he can, under his leadership, an elected, not appointed, an elected general secretary of the party, an elected chairman of the party will be suspended. They were elected, though.
Yes.
So if you're a Democrat, you start sacking elected people, then everybody will know what is happening. And even when he was being sworn in the first day, plagiarism. For what? It's not necessary.
That was a telltale sign.
Oh, in fact, when I heard it, I said, my God, if Ghana had been Ghana years ago, where we had strong intellectuals, we are minors. There have been people here who were extremely brilliant lawyers, Crunchy Taylor. There were brilliant lawyers in this country before. When you mention their names, people who could face presidents, people like, say, Akukosa, who could tell Nkrumah straight in the face that you are wrong. No, even our present judiciary cannot tell Akufo-Addo that is wrong. I listened to the present Chief Justice when there was a bar association meeting in Kumasi. When she was asked to deliver a paper or whatever it was, it took her about 5 minutes praising the president. I said, my God.
That was wrong?
That was totally wrong. A Chief Justice, you have nothing to do with politics. You take decisions in the interest of the country, not individual politicians. We have had Chief Justices in this country. Who will ever believe that, say, Akukosa, the first ever Chief Justice, Ghanaian Chief Justice, will tell Nkrumah, this is how we see the case. Those who said they have committed A, B, C, have not done anything. They should be set free. And he set them free.
Why do you think that the Chief Justice will pander to the president?
Look, Are you talking about the present or the past?
The present.
Oh.
Why do you think that a Chief Justice will go somewhere and sing the praises of the president?
That is exactly what amazed me. When the Chief Justice deals with the judiciary and the law. And if she is or with her sword, will talk about the law to the people. What is the point in praising the president? The records are there. You can play it for people to see if I'm telling lies. I was shocked. It took him more than 3 minutes praising the president.
Let's do a last one on the man Akufo-Addo as he finishes his tenure. As a young Akufo-Addo, when you knew him, what did you admire most about him? What are the things that you admire most about him that you don't think that you see now as a president who is ending his tenure in office?
You know, when we were young, Manado was very simple. We were simple, you know. We all belong to middle class. We were simple. Our parents were. We were all very simple people. He was fond of wearing jeans. I remember him always now doing jeans and a shirt, nicely dressed. You follow me? And Nado started driving very early. He had a car we call Kamangi, a yellow color. I mean, I'm talking about years ago. You follow me?
Which year would this be?
Early 60s.
Right.
So you can imagine. Kamangi, because some of our contemporaries were then young officers in the military. So when he comes, we all get into the car. And we drove to Arakan Barracks. You follow me? Nado was a nice young man. You follow me? Never had any problem. You hardly see him quarreling with people. He spoke fast and spoke the Queen's English. You follow me? Now, but some of the characteristics that has come out lately surprises me. Especially, he's not listening to advice. I would say that Kufuor had more listening ear than him. I'm telling you. But if Nanado did listen, because now watch your own programs now. People who come out now to talk, you ask yourself, where were they years ago? Now everybody is talking freely, as if we are in a new era. And we are in a new era. Everyone is talking. I was watching your program, the Okanse's program this morning. I was shocked. People I have never seen talking about issues, national issues. Everybody is talking freely because a yoke has been lifted off their necks.
Right.
So you can see that the nation, that's why I say, what we went through is the people's revolution. I believe and I hope the NDC should not think it was through their wonders. Yes, they did well. They were vigilant. That helped them a lot. You follow me? But they were just a conveyance belt. They carried the people's revolution. And what amazed me, and most of you didn't take note of it, at the closing ages of the campaign, the intellectual group in Legon and other places gave their support to the NDC. And to me, that was a great signal.
That was the biggest signal.
Yeah, and the party never took it seriously. I mean, that's why I say any form of restructuring or reorganization around these same people who are there now, in team and the general secretary, it will never work. It will rather split the party into two and we go back to stage one.
I see. The president, in delivering his State of the Nation address, well, you said he's not leaving a legacy, but he has outlined things that he's leaving behind. I want us to start off with corruption, because on the subject of corruption, he passed himself on the back for the amendment of the criminal law to make a graft a criminal offense instead of a misdemeanor. He talks about the establishment of the Office of the Special Prosecutor, the bringing into force of the Witness Protection Act as well. And so he's done quite well in the fight against corruption. Do you disagree?
You say he's done quite well.
Yes, that's what he tells us.
Look,
Don't you think so?
He was the first to set up special prosecution office. He put in this gentleman, Hamidu, what was his name?
Yes, Martin Hamidu.
Martin Hamidu. Martin Hamidu is a very serious person. He had the backing of Jerry John Rawlings. Backing because he was sure that when he's doing the right thing, nobody will ever worry him. Martin Hamidu, the moment Jerry died, resigned. And he referred to Akufo-Addo as the mother serpent of corruption. Is that right?
Yes, that's what he said.
Then the second person to come there is Kisi. Now, this same Kisi, whom he felt would sing his praises, look at the way he ended. What he came out with, a letter. We all read it. You don't have to go through it. So when you talk of having succeeded in what?
Dealing with corruption.
In corruption, I would say 0 over 10. Not even 1.
Despite the investigations that have taken place?
Which investigations have taken place?
Well, investigations were...
Which one? No, tell me.
The Cecilia Dapa case. You remember investigations took place, concurrent ones, the OSP and
who has been sent to court?
Well, she was cleared of it. You
Who
recall.
was cleared? Cecilia Dapa?
Cecilia. They had
oh
investigated
my God.
the
Look,
matter.
I know Cecilia very well.
Okay.
Very, very well. I was shocked that Cecilia could behave that way. But if Cecilia had talked to me, I would have told her, 1, accept the guilt and send the money to government. And we would have become a similar person.
Maybe she didn't steal the money.
She didn't do what?
She didn't steal the money. It's
No,
not from government.
Who on earth? Who on earth? I said, journalist, I know your work, how you do it. Who on earth will keep in his or her home millions of dollars, millions of cedis? He would not know even the amount involved. A maid servant or a maid will be stealing the money for years, be able to buy property and cars. And then by chance, they got to know about it. And you tell me that the person didn't know that. When the court, Kisi's, what do you call it, investigative team went there, they still found physical cash.
They did, indeed.
Where is the money coming from? As I sit down here, when you search me, you will even see 5,000 in my house. And by then, the banks were suffering. Why, if she had that money, granted that she's the owner of the money, why didn't she keep them in the bank? But I would like to sound a note of warning to John Mahama that he's made promise to the people of this country. 12 points. He's given himself 120 days or so. If he fails, he shouldn't think I will defend him. I am telling you, I'll be the first to attack him. Because we have got to a stage where this country should be sanitized. People shouldn't go into politics because of money. People should go into politics because of service to the nation. So far, our leaders, and I'll say it and say it again, after Kwame Nkrumah, we've not had a leader who has served the people the way they should serve them.
You remember?
Because some of the monies that have been used or stolen can be used in giving the rural folks basic things they need, drinking water. Because people are stealing millions of cedis.
Should John Mahama go after some of these
monies? He should not just go after them. He should make sure that they are prosecuted and sentenced. I can assure. And there are people who are ready to come out with a whole lot of things. Sami Okujato and his group, they are there.
Yes.
There is a lot of infractions. You have no idea, my dear. And if people come forward, and John, if these things are brought, he should just hand them over to the court. That's the investigation, that is the police, A genuine police head will make sure that things are done properly, and then later on hand them over to the court for prosecution.
You remember in the Cecilia Dapa case, it was the case that forced the OSP to come out and talk about the obstacles they were facing with the judiciary. And here you are talking about a good police head will look into these matters in the future. Yes. But let's compare that to the current administration and talk about perhaps how pervasive the influence of the executive is. Do you get that feeling that the executive power is quite pervasive in other arms of government, so to speak?
Of course, yes. Yeah. An area that they touched, and I felt bad, was the armed forces.
How did they touch the armed forces?
The so-called protocol list. I will always speak against it, but the army was not like that. I have been on a committee that used to recruit soldiers, not officers, soldiers. In 1974, I don't know where you were. I was in charge. I was the one in charge of the medical section of the recruitment, the whole country. We taught the whole country, from whole Cape Coast, all the regions. By then we had 9 regions. We ended up at Boga. Boga was then part of the northern region. But we went there because we still wanted to have a broad representation. Okay. We got all these young men. Listen to me. When Rawlings came to power, I had then just been released from prison. I was driving to Burma camp. If you get to the traffic light of 37, when you are driving straight to, I was going to Cantonment, so I was driving straight. Just when I passed the traffic, I was stopped by a friend I haven't seen for years because I had just come back from prison. So we were chatting. After we finished, I was about to enter my car. Then a Prince Goer is a medium-sized vehicle that was used in those days by soldiers, parked right in front of me. Then all of a sudden, 5 young men, soldiers, they jump out of the vehicle. They jump out. They were young men. Came. Then all I could see was that, "Sir, good afternoon, sir." I said, "Good afternoon." Then their hands went up like that. So I was shocked. I said, "Sir, it was during your era in 1974 that we joined the armed forces." Now the 5 of them, listen to me. By then, Rawlings was in power. He was the chairman of the AFRC. The 5 of them were members of the AFRC, the governing government. 5 of them. Can you believe it? Yeah. These are things that happen in life that at times you can't understand it. Absolutely. 74, 79. And between that period, I have gone through hell myself. And later, they recognized me and they came.
Right. So, I mean...
So the armed forces, that's where I'm coming. The armed forces must revert to what it used to be. Recruitment should be made from one region to the other, as it used to be before. This so-called protocol list must be stopped immediately. Immediately. Because that is what is in the system. Now, you know about it.
Another thing the president did during his SONA was to announce the promotion of the CDS to
the present CDS
to general. And in fact, the announcement was such that what he's saying is the chiefs of all the units have been promoted. So then the CDS is general, the rest will follow suit in that order. What do you think about this announcement of promotion, which he says would increase the authority of the military in dealing with particularly cross-border insecurity?
No, by our structure, by our military structure, we seriously have 2 brigades. Recently, I learned 48 regiment has been formed into a brigade too. A brigade is nothing than a number of battalions that will give you a brigade. So we had Southern Command and Northern Command. Now, to be made a CDS, you must have gone through a lot in the armed forces. Now, the highest person in the CD, in the structure, which allows us, as a military institution, that the rank should be a lieutenant colonel. Okay? So I suspect by then the CDS was not a lieutenant colonel. A lieutenant colonel is a 3-star general. Now, when you come, let me start from where the stars start coming in. From colonel, you are given a brigadier. Formerly the English called it a brigadier, but now we call it brigadier general because you are given 1 star, like the Americans. From brigadier general, you come to a major general, 2 stars. Now, from a major general, you come to a 3-star general, lieutenant general. A full general is 4-star general, and that is a big army. You follow me? So I suspect that maybe the CDS was then a 2-star general. So he turned him into a 3-star general in order to shift the others also. And as a commander-in-chief, he has the authority to do that.
But he's only doing it now that he's leaving office. Is the timing problematic or suspicious in any way at all?
Well, that is ridiculous. It will depend on the incoming government. And if, you see, I have been saying time and again that if I'm commanding the armed forces and I disagree with the government on the policy, especially interfering with my command, I will take a pen and paper and resign. That's all. And it's the same with the police. The moment that starts, that culture of resignation, the moment it comes into the hierarchy of the police and the armed forces, you will see that this country will be free. That will tell you we are now maturing, what do you call it, as true Democrats. Because that is what happens in all civilized countries. A general can easily take his pen and leave. It has happened recently in America and other places. Yeah.
I see.
They haven't got the courage to do that. Why, I don't understand it. When I was head of Ghana football, I said, I resign. I resign on principle.
Right. But you know what I want to learn is, the commander-in-chief position for whoever occupies the presidency is a constitutional placement on that person, right? But the people who manage the military, they have gone through the training. And so for some people, when the president...
The commanding officer, the chief of defense staff, we call him, has equally gone through the training.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. But the president, obviously, hasn't gone through military training. It's just a constitutional placement on you that when you become president, you become the commander-in-chief as well. Right? So for some people, for the president to make such an announcement at this time could cause issues of authority within the military itself. You've been a military...
mean right now?
Right now, yes.
No. You see, the military, strictly by its profession, the military is one of the best institutions we are left with now. The moment that gets destroyed, we are finished. That's why I say that protocol list must stop now.
Must stop.
You see, they are being promoted. Doesn't mean the president intends to create a situation that will bring panic or anything. No. As I said earlier on, they are being promoted because they might have already been mentioned for such promotions to come.
Right.
I don't think there's any bad intention towards that.
Towards
I don't
that.
think so.
The other, subject on block for us to discuss is the president's free senior high school program, now a policy, which was implemented over the 8-year period. The president is happy about the implementation so far. He thinks that it has allowed a lot of young people to go to school and the likes. Are you What's your assessment of the implementation of the free senior high school?
No, I remember when Nana-Addo was interviewed by BBC years ago, about 9 years ago. And he was asked a question about free senior high school. But he came out with the objective. And I remember the host asked him, how are you going to get the money to fund this? And Nana was able to maneuver. I know Nana very well. I knew he can do that. He maneuvered himself out, just like that. But by saying that when he gets home, when he gets to Ghana, then he will see to that. Now, we shouldn't forget that free education, free senior high education, is in our constitution. And the constitution says it must be done progressively. Why did he put it there? Progressively. And really it's been done progressively by governments. Nkrumah started it. Now, where we now came in with this general movement, that has I was listening to your program this morning. I'm talking about Cancer's program. A gentleman by name is Asari or something.
Right.
Explained it beautifully. The figures given by the president in parliament were all false. You see some of the areas. Now, such advisors should have been arrested straight. They gave the government the wrong figures. If they gave the president the wrong figures, he also came and read the wrong figures. And the opposition started hooting at him. Now, when they brought the figures on the television, the 5 point something he was calling was not at all. It was around 3 something. It's a huge difference. You follow me? Yeah. So that tells you the concept has already been there. He's not the creator of it.
So the president shouldn't have rushed into it?
He shouldn't have rushed at all. In fact, I was expecting him, and this is final statement, to talk about areas and difficulties he came to meet, those that he have been able to sort them out properly, and those that he is unable to do, but he advised the incoming government to have a look at it. Just a simple thing and leave. And forget about statistics. But the statistics are not coming from you. And you have been advised wrongly. It has just been proven this morning.
I see. I want you to assess the event that took place with the ADC and how it was handled in Parliament.
It tells you one thing. But what happened there was not a joke. And in some civilized countries, a whole set of security men would have been just brushed off immediately. Number one, if you watch carefully, the man started fidgeting for some time. I was watching. Even the papers he was holding nearly fell out of his hand. He couldn't control his sword. So immediately, if there are experts there, they would have realized that he has a problem. And they would have gone quietly to get him out and bring a replacement. That's point number one. Point number two. An ADC who is a full colonel is too big to be an ADC. When Nkrumah was prime minister of this, president of this country, or even prime minister, he said ADC was late Lieutenant General Erskine. Erskine was then the captain. A captain is a young, strong man. A young, strong man who can stand for hours without getting tired. You don't bring a whole colonel with medals to come and guard or be an ADC to a president. You don't do that. When Akufo was a head of state, his ADC was a captain. What has changed? that you bring a whole, and I can remember, unless my memory serves me wrong, I can remember that we have even had in his era a brigadier general being an ADC. It never happens. A brigadier general is too busy. How on earth do you bring a brigadier general to be an ADC to a president? It's never done. So the man himself standing there is too old for a long standing. Maybe it might be medical conditions, which I suspect that is really the way. Because if you watch, he went down slowly. He could no more stand on his feet. And surprisingly, there was not even a stretcher there to take him.
Well, subsequently,
and they mistakenly tried to hold him upright, which was wrong.
Indeed.
You follow me? So the whole Parliament House itself, they have to work on their security.
The other big lapse also, and I would want you to assess that as well, is how the president was left standing for a very long time.
I was coming to that. Because it could have been a diversion.
Yes. And
any evil mind would have succeeded what he wanted to do. He was standing there alone. If it had been the US, you would have immediately seen the security men around him. There was nothing like that. He was standing alone until somebody came and invited him to sit for the meantime. So that's what I'm saying. Such a whole security network.
Some hairs should be rolling by now.
Including Kandapa. He has ended a failure. The whole security network should go. Recently, when this man Trump had a shot, a whole security network, they were removed. Because it is the duty of the head of national security. And I must stand up for Francis Poku. This would never have happened without Francis Poku when he was Minister of National Security. You see, there are things that when it is not your field, don't force yourself in there. Kandaba, you are not an intelligence officer. So right from the word go, you shouldn't have accepted that position. Look, you see the exposure, how the president was left. Anybody with an evil mind could have succeeded. Right. He was left for a long time. Alone, because the one who is to protect him is down.
Yes.
And those who came, they went for the person who has fallen, and they left the president because it could have been a diversion. Yes. Tactics. He said, these are things. And I say, I would have sacked the whole security network there, including the minister. It was a failure. A lapse in security that shouldn't have happened.
What would you say to President Akufo-Addo as he exits office?
No, you see, you don't go into politics because of what you want.
You think that's what the president did? He came into politics for what he wants?
What he has shown so far, that was the indication. And time will tell what he has acquired. Time will tell what he has acquired. But things will start coming out. Even there are rumors already that he's owing a whole house in southern France. Then people will talk. People will talk. Here, houses is got. People will come out with it. But mind you, individuals who go to either buy.
I mean, couldn't he have had that money personally before he became president? Is that possible?
Look, that brings my mind on one point. There is this gentleman by name. He's now the head of lotteries. What was his name?
Samia Woku.
Samia Woku. Ask Samia Woku whether he's worked in his life before. From university straight to politics. He's not living at Trazaco. Where did he get the money to buy the house there? You see, these things are simple to check. Where did he get the money from? But you pressmen, when you
No,
see
but
them, you get frightened. You can't talk to them.
Isn't the president coming from money already? Maybe he had it in his personal
But
life.
Nana had money before.
You know him. You tell us. Is he
No.
coming from money? Maybe he already had it.
Nana, though, if he had money, there were certain things he wouldn't have done. He would have been extra strict. Don't forget, their own family property, he put it on sale. It used to be called Rainway Hotel. In fact, that was an area when we were forming NP, people used to meet there. It's no more. It's now belonging to, I think, a French bank. You follow me? If he had money, he wouldn't do that.
Well, maybe also, you remember his law firm, which he operated for a long time.
Oh, my God.
He could have made the money from there.
So look, he has held other companies before, during the PNDC era. We know all. And he knows we know.
Okay.
If he couldn't make money during that time. Look, when you make genuine money, people know.
So what you're saying is that if it's true that he's purchasing...
And not him alone.
Not him alone.
Not him alone.
Okay.
Not him alone. Almost all his ministers cannot go scot-free when it comes to infractions.
So again, I just want clarity for the purpose of our viewers. You're saying that if it's true that the president has purchased these things that are being rumored he has, including his children, then it wouldn't be coming from personal money. It wouldn't be coming because he got those from personal work he has done.
It didn't come from genuine work.
Genuine work.
Yes.
Okay.
You follow me?
Yes.
It didn't come. Now, a British prime minister rides a bicycle or rode a bicycle. He leaves office, or he comes to office with nothing, he leaves office with nothing. And I will call on John Mahama that whoever he makes a minister in this country must, one, declare his assets. Two, let us know if he has any bank account. He must declare it. So when he's leaving, we know, or even before he leaves, one can even check. Intelligence can follow up and find out.
Should John Mahama investigate the outgoing president?
Of course, yes. Not just the president. I told you from the beginning that there are, I think, 10 or 12 points that they put on. Amongst them was that. Okay. And he should not at all ignore that.
Should investigate Akufo-Addo and all his appointees.
But the whole administration. The whole administration. But if he fails to do that, if he's going to be selective, then what's the point? What's the point? You can't be selective in this or try to push things under the carpet. It's impossible. You can't do that. It must be the whole administration from the beginning, 2017, till
today.
2024, today.
Till today. I see.
Those who have done nothing wrong, they have nothing to fear. That's all. Because the money is state money. And believe me, I've said it on your program. I don't know whether it was whether Johnny Hughes or the others. If those monies that have been taken out of the country are brought back, more than half of our financial problems will be solved. I am telling you. Because they are huge monies, in trillions of dollars. You people have no idea. People have no idea. Instances where monies have been put into cases and taken out of this country. Really? No. I sit here, but I know what happens. You follow me? I sit here quietly, but I know what happens.
Which reminds me of the over $20 million, I suppose, that was being carried out of this country was stopped some time ago.
Exactly.
The Bank of Ghana gave reasons for that money.
Yes. Yes. Bank of Ghana itself, the governor has misbehaved. He's not a strong man. No. We have our governor. You can't do that to Ashiagbo. I'm telling you. You can't do that to Amonikwe. These are people you don't know. But they were solid men. He would prefer to walk or ride his bicycle than to be given a stolen money. These are the people we need in this country. When you talk of Bank of Ghana, the types of Amonikwe,
but
the types of Ashagbo. After that, who came? We have not known anybody till today. Somebody who could have been a good governor too is Kwame Pianim. Oh yes, you see, there are people in this country who are so good, but unfortunately, you see, they don't want to do it, or probably light has not come on them. Kwame Pianim would have been he's an economist. Or this man, Togbe Afede. You can't make Togbe Afede a bank governor of the bank of. In fact, I think he was a member of the board before. He resigned. He left. On principle. You can't make Togbe Afede governor of the bank and come and tell him about intrigues that he will resign immediately. Because he will tell you, no, I won't do it. These are the type of people we want to lead this country.
The current central bank governor has allowed himself to be puppeteered.
At all.
But by who?
At all. By the leadership, by the political leadership. Because the bank itself is independent. Measures to be taken to see to the economy, they know it. It's all written down. You follow me?
Right.
And what they need is the willpower to be able to say no on principle.
No on principle.
Like Kejo Seb also did years ago when I was a student. He told the whole general. But then it was a military regime. I keep on repeating this because it is important for young people like this. During the era of Kotoka, General Ankara, and General Afrifa, few civilians were put in government. Among them was Kwabena Jima Bonsu, KG Osei Bonsu, a young lawyer then. He was made minister responsible for information, or commissioner responsible for information. Those days they called them commissioners. Buzia made a statement on South Africa that hurt a lot of African countries. So a rejoinder was written by two editors, one from Daily Graphic and one from Ghanaian Times. The Daily Graphic editor, I still remember, is called Cameron Dodu. You might have heard of him.
I have.
I know him, I haven't seen him for years. I wish I could hear of him one of these days. The other one, I can't remember his name. Could you believe they sacked these two editors? The government sacked these two editors without the knowledge of the minister. It's unbelievable, but it happened. KG Osei also had the courage and wrote a letter of resignation to the chairman of the council, General Ankara. Ankara couldn't believe it. Typical soldier. I said, who is this small boy trying to challenge me? So he asked KG Osei to come. KG came, a young man. He said, young man, do you really mean what I have before me now? I said, yes, sir. He said, if you can take such a decision without my knowledge as a minister, I can't work with you. And he left. He's alive. You can contact him if I'm telling lies.
I see.
Or you can even Google it, you see.
I see.
You follow me?
Now that the president is going, would it be your wish, or would you tell him to let go his hold on the MPP? He should leave the MPP alone to thrive.
No, you see, the point is, a lot of people have the feeling that he's led the party into a disaster. And in order to erase that sort of thinking, I would advise him to leave the party alone.
Leave the party alone.
Leave the party alone. The party will organize itself. Because any position that you take, people will go against it. That's all.
Thank you so much for
It's a
talking
pleasure.
to us. There's so much to talk about.
No, yes, that's
We,
all.
we should sit again and then have another conversation, mainly on the history of this country.
No problem. I'm not a historian, though.
You're not, but on your experience. Your experience is so rich. We'll talk a little bit about coup and what goes into the minds of people who plan coups and all that. I'd like that, but thank you so much for talking to us.
Thank you also. It's a pleasure.
Listen, if you missed this episode and you can tell that there are many parts of this episode that you haven't seen, head to youtube.com where we'll put all the other aspects of this interview. The 1 hour we have on TV is not enough for this. So you find the other aspects of the interview there. Do log on to YouTube. The TV3 channel, 3 News channel will have the other aspects. But that'll be all in this edition. I'm Keminni Amanor, and this is Hot Issues. Bye-bye.